All right, we do this at least once a year, and I mean, you would think that we did this like 15 years ago because the guy just doesn't freaking age. And and look, before we even started taping, he was like, I was like, yeah, you got a little 5 o'clock shadow going on. He's like, yeah, it's all gray. Like, really?
Uh,
You know it. I don't know it.
I get away with no gray hair because it's I'm bald, so
Right, right.
nobody see that. But the beard does give it away.
Yeah, Brian Moorman looks the same as he did when I first met him. You know, almost 20 years ago. It's ridiculous. And he's down in Jacksonville, and he's one of the all-time Bills greats. He was on the All 50th team as the punter, and of course, spent a couple of. You literally had the cup of coffee in Pittsburgh and Dallas, which is kind of funny.
And it came home.
Yeah, exactly. And you
Yeah,
got it up here
yeah,
where you should have,
came
which was
home.
good.
Yeah,
We're
that's it.
happy about that.
Couldn't have
Um,
written better myself. So
So I mean, look, you've always been a workout junkie, and I know you. I'm assuming you still eat pretty clean. You were never like a fast food guy, like ever that I knew. So is that still your thing? Because you still look like you're probably 170 pounds dripping wet, and you're still obviously looking fit as always. So is that still your sort of physical game plan these days? Still?
certainly had you fooled on the eating part of it, but enjoy a good pizza and wings for sure. No doubt. And quite frankly, I miss the wings up there for sure, and I can't wait to get them when I get in town. But at any rate, yeah, I mean, I still try and work out, try to stay in shape, and the body isn't what it used to be, obviously, but it's still my playing weight, so I guess I'm proud of that.
Hey, so hamstrings for a punter are really important, right? Um,
Tend to be, yeah.
yeah, I've seen a lot of hamstring injuries in the first 2 weeks in the NFL season, and the only theory I can come up with that can account for that is that these players like didn't play in the preseason, and game speed is so much different than practice speed, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you certainly are going to be going at a different rate, right? I mean, and whether or not that's making a difference, it's got to play a little bit of a role in it. I mean, you're not going to go that same caliber of speed, against somebody on your own team as hard as you try to. But I'm speaking from my own experience of running, sprints or something like that. But that being said, I never played receiver at that level, by any means. I don't claim to have been that, but I ran a fake punt or two, and I definitely didn't run as fast in practice as I did in the game. So, but yeah, I would say that probably might play a little bit of a role, but at the same time, it's hard to say. Maybe these guys weren't hydrated well enough. It's hotter than it had been. Maybe it's a different game. You just don't really know what all the circumstances are.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of a different, so I know you're doing a little bit of coaching on the side, sort of like almost as like a hobby. I mean, your son is playing high school football now, so you're part of his life as sort of coach and football dad at the same time. Does he like you coaching and being a dad at the same time? I mean,
There's challenges. I think
yeah, right.
almost any dad I talk to says it's a challenge, but I love helping him. I love talking. I love going out and working with him. I love throwing to him. He's playing some receiver and slot, and then probably the thing I'm even most excited about is pretty darn good long snapper. And so I talked to Garrison Sanborn and a couple other guys. Even got to work with my old special teams coach Joe DeCamillis with him this summer. Which I'm super proud and honored that he would be willing to take some time out of his day and just hey, happens to be a neighbor around the corner now here in Jacksonville before he goes up to South Carolina for the season. But working with those guys is just kind of opened his eyes to that position. And but he loves catching the ball, loves playing receiver, and we're just he's learning the game. And it may not. I think it comes better from people like Garrison and Jody than me. But that being said, we go out and we work on it, and he's very coachable, and that's awesome.
And I know people that have never been around it probably think it is so incredibly easy, but I have been around it. I did a thing on my TV show 15 years ago with you and Garrison, and it is so hard. You got to do it a lot to get good at it, and it's really cool that he's doing that and figuring it out, because that's certainly a role that if you're not necessarily a blue chip prospect and you want to play at a high level of football, you can do.
Yeah, I think, and honestly, I think the way things are changing in college football right now, from my understanding, and I'm new to all of this, but I've got a friend of mine that I played, I was in training camp with when I was with the Seahawks way back when. And, he runs kicking camp, stuff like that. And he's kind of explaining to me the process of this whole thing and how things are changing with NIL and scholarships. I'm sorry, walk-ons are going away, and they're all going to be scholarship players. And I keep telling my son, I say, hey. We're going to go back to those days where if you can do two things, the more you can do. If you're going to be a receiver or a tight end or something, if you can long snap, it's going to be great. And I've caught a lot of snaps in my day, and no pressure, but I think it's not an easy thing to do. And like you said, and honestly, I think it's taken for granted by a lot of coaches at the middle school, high school level, especially at the JV level and things. And you think it's just go out and snap the ball. The bottom line is they have to do that before a punter can ever catch a snap, before a holder can catch a snap, and a kicker can put it between the pipes. I give a lot of credit to the snappers out there, and it's kind of that old joke that it's only good if you don't hear their name. But this day and age, I think people appreciate it a little bit more than they used to. So good for them.
Are you do you resist the urge to kick a few when he's snapping to you?
Oh, I do mostly, but I still go out and boot a few every now and again. But it's that whole song "Good as You Once as You Once Were" or something. I don't know. I can't do the lyrics. I'm terrible at lyrics. But get a couple in, and then it's like, okay, that's enough before I rip the hip bone. But it's like the old goal of hitting a 5-0 50-yard punt when I'm 50 here, and I won't tell you when, but that's that's the goal. We'll try and do that here whenever time comes.
I'd much rather see you have a 5-second hang time at 50, 5.0 hang time at 50. How about that?
Yeah. I'll be happy if it's that and only 30 yards, but I'd love to get it, over 50, but we'll see what happens.
So is that 50 off the foot or 50 from the line of scrimmage?
Line of scrimmage.
Okay.
Unless I can't, then it's off the foot.
That's fantastic.
No, yeah, it's maybe we can do that on your podcast.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Jacksonville now?
Oh gosh, we came here when I was playing, for the off seasons quite often, just to get a break and come train and be able to kick outside and in the wind, because it was always a crosswind coming off the beach or whatever. There was a little field here. It's called Cornerstone here now, but it's just an old. They play baseball games and then lacrosse games and things. So I just punt out there every off season, and it was good work for me. But anyway, so 2002, I think. So over 20 years, been coming here, and we kind of did the nationwide tour of where to live afterwards, and had considered strongly staying there in Buffalo, and family brought us down here. We had family here and decided that we'll just settle here, and it's obviously a little warmer, but that didn't matter. We love the weather up there and miss it, quite frankly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for people that don't know, you love skiing, like you
snow ski.
Yeah.
And then obviously everybody knows the fall is amazing. Summers are amazing there. It's just that little stretch of I don't know if we could call it mud season or what, but if I call it February through May, maybe April or whatever, before summer hits. And yeah, it's long, but obviously we ended up down here, and this has been home now full time since I retired. So it's been good, but we obviously try and come up and visit you guys as much as we can.
Yeah, for sure. We're obviously going to talk some football. The Bills off to a great start. The Jags not so much, leading up to Monday Night Football. And you have told me that you will be up here this weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that too in a second. In Jacksonville, though, you, upon retirement, got into selling real estate. And it's kind of cool because, if you don't know a whole lot about Jacksonville, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the biggest city geographically in the country,
square mileage wise.
Right. Not population wise, but
right.
And then the waterfront, the beachfront is remarkable. Like there are some really, really amazing high-end pieces of real estate down there that I know you sell. And I bring that up because my wife and I, my wife Jen, we watch shows like Selling Sunset and I think there's another one called like Selling Manhattan or something. And I'm like, man, this is so Mormon. Like Mormon's got to do Selling Jacksonville, because it would be like you'd be the guy, and then you'd have all these beautiful people like around you selling all these like incredible estates.
Well, it'd be fun. You go pitch that for me. It's a great area, and I think it used to be I used to say it's the best kept secret in Florida. I think the secret's kind of been out. I think COVID actually kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit about this area, and you've seen the prices jump significantly since I started in the business. But honestly, that's kind of nationwide, really. I mean, but that being said, it's great because we get a little change of season here, and I get a little taste of winter. We can get into the 20s and 30s, and in inland, you can get into the teens overnight. But usually during the day, it's only max 45, for a low, but typically low 50. So I say you get a taste of winter, but it's a much colder 50 degrees than it is when it used to be 50 in Buffalo, and we'd get our t-shirts and shorts out, in the winter, if that ever happened. But that being said, it's a great place to live, and a great place to raise a family. Schools are great, and it's continuing to grow. I think it's one of the faster growing areas in Florida, and for good reason. I think if people are looking for that, to your point, I mean, the beaches are fantastic. There's a lot to do here. You've got everything. I mean, there's a lot of things that are close. I mean, if you like Disney, it's really literally 2 hours away. You can make a day trip of it. We go down to Miami Heat games once a year. It's only 4 or 5 hours away. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and obviously enjoy getting out on the water, boating, and going to the beach, and still going to catch football games. I mean, if you love college football, you're 1.5 to 2 hours from Gainesville. You're not far from Tallahassee. And then of course you've got the Jaguars, which, I prefer to fly up to Buffalo, but I will visit a Jaguar game once in a while.
Duval, man,
I will not yell at that though.
Thank you.
In my vocabulary, I support the Jaguars. I mean, I live here and I work here, but I'm Bills through and through. So I just go to watch and enjoy NFL football. I mean, I love the game, and I love being there watching it. And I support the Jags when they're not playing the Bills.
Sure. Yeah, I was told by an old friend years and years and years ago, regardless of where you were brought up or whatever affiliation you have, you always have to root for the team in the town you get paid.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's important.
Yeah, and listen, they're great. The Jags are great. I know people in that organization, and they support things we do here and stuff like that. So the president lives in our neighborhood. He's a fantastic person. Love chatting with him. So it's a great organization. I hope they do really, really well. I want to see them do well this season, just not this weekend. And I'm very vocal about that. Yeah. I'm like, hey, they're not getting on the winning train this weekend. They can wait till the following week.
All right. So hold on a second. Yeah. Do you have a Bills flag out front of your house this weekend? There you go. All right.
Going on the boat.
All right. Awesome.
I represent. Yeah. Awesome. I just got that for the take out on the boat. So yeah, it's I'm always wearing Bills gear. I mean, and honestly, I see Bills gear everywhere down here. There's guys, I see license plates of people with hats, and you give the old Go Bills just like we do up there and everywhere else around the country. And it's fun. We meet a lot of good Bills fans down here.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Brian Moorman with us, and he founded the incredibly successful Punt Foundation. I know you got something special going on down there in Jacksonville as well. Want to talk about it?
Yeah, we do a charity event down here every year. Since we have moved down here, we do our own little thing down here to raise money and donate back to charities locally here in Jacksonville. And it was always important to be involved in the community when we were in Buffalo. And so we got here, we wanted to find a way to give back. We were, obviously lucky enough to, I was lucky enough to start a new career and have found some success at it. And I've met a lot of great people, and a lot of great people with big hearts, and they love to give back. And oftentimes they just want a place to donate money. And so, one charity that we were obviously very tied to, was very similar to the foundation we started there in Buffalo, was Tom Coughlin's J Fund, benefiting kids with cancer. And it's always been near and dear to me and Amber. And, so we've stayed in touch with them throughout the years, go to their events every year. And so we've donated, we've granted money that we've raised to them. We've granted money to other charities like V for Victory, which helps children and families battling cancer, Momcology, which helps mothers get through that process of children that have recovered from cancer. And that's a great organization as well for people that want to look it up. And then this year we also, Horseplay Therapy Farm was a fun one. That it's a group that is down in St. Augustine, Florida, that they have a farm down there that they have horses and they treat children with disabilities and autism. And it was very rewarding to go down there and meet with them, and so excited to take our grant and be able to put up new gutters and be able to ride horses while it's pouring down rain, because we get these huge rainstorms, but they can go out and ride their horses now and keep doing the therapy with the kids while it's pouring. So that was cool. And we're doing it again this year. We and we've had a great turnout. We've sold out the golf tournament, and we'll do the fundraiser, and it's a lot of fun, and it's fun to do something. We always donate a little bit of money for each closing, and then we use that money to hopefully raise more money. And it's been great. We have, like I said, great sponsors and friends and customers and neighbors, and just it's grown faster than I could have thought that it would. And a lot of good people.
Sounds like Buffalo South.
A little bit, yeah. A lot of memories there too. Yeah, so it's it's great to just kind of be part of this community and try to give back a little bit here as well.
I mean, you're not unique. I mean, there are players that get out of football in their 30s and they live sort of two lives, right? You live your football life where you're at that point where, man, I could maybe go next level. And then you do go next level. Then you have a great career. And then you're like, now what? That's kind of what you did, and you're doing great at it. So like you're a guy that you've always had a gigantic heart ever since the day I've met you, and you're an inspiration for a lot of people, man. So you should be very, very proud of yourself and everything you guys have done. And I'm not done with you. I want to switch it over to football.
Sure.
And I want to go back to your son, and I want to go back to high school football in Jacksonville. Is it everything? Or in Florida, is it everything everybody makes it out to be, like Florida, Texas, some of those places around the country where there's 30,000 seat stadiums and it's Friday night lights and crazy? Is it like that?
No, I mean, we don't have that kind of an atmosphere like Texas, but Ponte Vedra is a big town. It's a big school. It's kind of foreign to me. I grew up and my school had 100 kids. I had 25 kids in my class. So my son's got 25 kids, and I don't even know if he has one class with 25 kids during the day, but there's 2,000 kids in the school. So it's a different thing, like I said, foreign to me. But the Friday night games are fun, but there's 100 and probably 40 kids on the football team.
Wow.
So they've got freshman team, JV team, varsity team. So you got to work your way up, and that's, I think it's good for the boys. It's they work hard all summer, and getting up early, going and doing the workouts just like everywhere else, and then they obviously start the practices and in the fall and get at it. But it's been good. I think it's a great experience for him, and I think he's enjoying it.
So are kids there like they are a lot of them here, where I feel like so many kids are only focusing on one sport, where back in the day we played everything, right? Yeah. I mean, is it like that there? Like, I mean, I feel like it's here like that here. Is it like that there?
In a lot of ways, yes.
Yeah.
In some ways there are, I mean, I do know of kids that do football and lacrosse, or I have kids, I do coach the track team as well. I volunteered on that in the spring and had some kids that play football and run track, which I think, to me, of course, I'm biased. I ran track, as a lot of people know, and I love the sport, and I think it's great for football players and athletes in general. I think people think it's nuts because you're just out running circles, but the bottom line is you're out getting faster and getting in shape. But that's for another podcast. I think you do find that a lot of kids, they just seem to zero in on one and say, okay, well, and it's just so specialized, and from position by position, and whether it's quarterback or receiver or whatever, and so not sure how I feel about it. I think I would love to see kids play more than one sport, at least two, but at the end of the day, it's, there's a lot of demand. I mean, there's even the high school football thing where you're, literally, meetings and things. Sometimes I feel like it's back in the NFL listening to the schedule, and it's pretty crazy. And I know that it's probably even more so at other schools. So it's, it's not just here. I know it's all over, and that's just where we're at.
Yeah,
And
meetings, film. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a different world than most of us our ages, and I'm still even way older than you, but like that we experienced as kids ourselves. Yeah, it's
yeah.
nuts. So that's fast forward to the pros now. So what do you I mean, look, it's 2 games in, and look, the Bills have looked really good for, I'm trying to do some math here. 7 of 8 quarters, right? They've looked
Sure.
really good for
Yeah,
7 of 8 quarters, maybe the best team in the league, but it's only 2 games, right? That's not get crazy at this point, right?
yeah. I was 2-0 a couple times in my career. The joke was always like, "All right, we're winning the Super Bowl," but that's not true. I mean, you got a long way to go. It's a marathon, and that old saying it gets old as you're playing throughout your career. And hey, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and you really want to be saying that when you're 2-0 and not 0-2. It's definitely better to be 2-0. And you always see all the statistics. The odds of making the playoffs if you start 0-2 and blah blah blah. But you know what? There's always a team that does, and so these teams you can't take for granted that the Jaguars are still a talented football team. They're still really good, and they're still very well coached. And I told a friend just yesterday, I said this could be an early trap game, early in the season, because you kind of like, oh, okay, they haven't started well and played well, blah blah blah. Do I think that Sean would not have them ready? Absolutely not. I think that is not a worry for me at all. But I think it's easy to say something to talk about because you got to get out there and you got to start fast. And I think if you start fast against the Jags, I think they'll get that, oh shit, here we go again, kind of attitude versus don't let them jump on you, and I think the Bills have done great with that this season so far. And I'm excited for them because I don't think anybody expected much coming out of the gate, and they've played pretty lights out.
Yeah, they have. I mean, offensively, they've been terrific. James Cook has been amazing.
Yeah,
Josh really hasn't been asked to do much, which is
yeah.
great.
But
Because
when he does, and when he is, he delivers as always.
yeah,
And I told people in the offseason, I was like, well, when you have Josh, behind the center, you got a chance because nobody really knew what to expect of the O-line and know what to expect about the defense. And, both have certainly lived up to expectations through 2 weeks. But again, we go back to that marathon. We still got, 15 more weeks. So, and then it's all about how you build up to December and how you play in December, and what matters is playing in January and February.
and the other thing too is, I mean, how will the players that reacted so well in the Miami game
Yeah.
react, especially on the defensive side, the Ingrams and the Cam Lewises and the Balen Spectors of the world? How will they react having to now game plan going into this game, knowing they're going to play like for 10 days instead of knowing maybe a couple of days, or plays literally Balen Spector for Bernard that they're actually going to play? So how they prepare is obviously going to be a lot different than it was probably as starters now. So it'll be interesting to see how that sort of converts into on Monday night.
Well, hopefully, in a positive way. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
they stepped in, and it is always, you got to have that next man up mentality. I mean, you hate to see an injury like that happen, especially to somebody that's a leader like him. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to step up, and I thought they played really, really well. Now it's just, having more time to prepare can only help. I mean, you don't want to. My old special teams coach Bobby April, he's always about like, hey, no think, so don't overthink it. But at the end of it, because I mean, you're here for a reason, so go out and play your game. You played played your heart out on Thursday night and did great. So it's not going to be any different. Just their fundamentals are great and they're coached really well. So I think they'll all be ready.
It's funny because I feel like the team really, speaking of Josh Allen, they feed off that guy so much in terms of his personality, right? I mean, he can be so chill and have so much fun, and at the same time, he's an incredible personality or incredible competitor, rather. And I feel like there's not a whole lot in between. And I feel like the team, like I've watched him in this first 2 weeks, and they just feel. I've used the word relaxed multiple times. Like they kind of know what to do. They know how to act. They know how to execute. They know the game plan, and they go out and they have fun doing it. And I feel like their quarterback has rubbed off on every layer of the team, veteran on down, to get them to play at the level that they have.
Well, yeah, I think that's you hit the nail on the head. When you have a guy like that can lead the way he leads, no matter what happens, you always feel like we're still going to come back. I mean, he could be down 21 or up 21, but you have him, and it's going to be it's going to end the way you want it to end. And and I would argue that it's similar to the way the Chiefs feel with Mahomes behind center, right? I put Josh up there and above. I mean, I think that, and again, I'm biased. I bleed blue and red, obviously, but I think that anytime, and he exudes that confidence that he's going to keep the team in it, and no matter how far down they are, they're going to, we're going to keep grinding until we that last whistle blows, and hopefully they'll have 1 point ahead. And I think they believe that that's going to be the case because of him leading them. I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, McDermott preaches family, and I feel like there is that fight for each other mentality all the time on both sides of the football, which is really, really pretty cool. So, speaking of the quarterbacks, so what do people think about in Jacksonville about Trevor Lawrence at this point? I mean, I suspect he hasn't lived up to what people thought he might. He's a little bit of a disappointment, but what do you think? Or what do they think?
I don't hear a lot out. I mean, I will say this is, you said it earlier, it's such a spread out area. So it's not like Buffalo, where we're all kind of it's just so tight knit and close. So I don't hear a lot of talk about it. And it's a kind of a melting pot too. I mean, while, like you said, a lot of people support the Jags because we live here, and work here and everything else, but we also have teams elsewhere. So there's not a lot of water cooler talk, so to speak, and that I'm around anyway. Of course, I work from home and out in the area, and people are frustrated, but they're frustrated also that UF isn't playing well, or FSU's not playing well. There's a lot of college football going on here. But the thing about Trevor is he's obviously very talented, and has all the talent in the world. It's just that for some reason it's not getting put together on the field, on Sundays, and it doesn't seem like they are happy. I mean, he came out himself and said they sucked, and when that happens, you can tell there's a frustration level that's beyond where you would want it to be, especially ever during a season, much less after you've got 2 losses. So they're kind of backed against the wall this week, and I don't. I mean, I think Doug Peterson's a great coach too. I mean, I've listened and watched, and sit back and see how I know that the players, from what I hear locally, they have great respect for him, and the guys that I knew that played for him previously loved playing for him. So I have no doubt he'll have him ready. So certainly we can't take them lightly by any means. I mean, because they're going to come down and play their hearts out, because they certainly don't want to be 0-3, but I know we want to be 3-0. So we're going to hopefully take care of business.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I mean, the last 2 times they played against each other, the Jags won, and they weren't expected to. And so they kind of sort of have the Bills number. Granted, in 2021, the Bills team was way different than it is today. Last year was similar, but again, tons of turnover. And it's interesting. We were talking a little bit about this with the Bills, that every single year there seems to be a lot of turnover, but there's a core group of guys like Josh, Knox, Dawkins, Ed Oliver, and Milano. Taron Johnson I'm going to throw in there too. Those are like the only guys that have been here 5 years or more and have signed sort of longer term deals. Everybody else on the roster has been part of annual turnover on this team, which I don't think a lot of people stop and think about how good of a job that the coaching staff has done with new players every single year, and lots of them.
I think that's a testament to Brandon Beane and Coach McDermott both. I mean, honestly, to me, that just screams culture. That screams what they've been doing to build their and belief, inside the walls. That they're always going to be able to play for each other and with each other and go out as a team and win. And that nothing ever is going to cause them to believe they're not going to come out with a win at the end of the day. Are they going to go 17-0? Well, that would be amazing, but very hard to do, right? So you've got to, learn from your losses as much as you do from your wins, and we just hope that they're few and far between.
Last question: who was, or maybe there were a couple of them, the best leaders that you played with? And one comes to mind in Kyle Williams. But I'm assuming there's maybe a couple more, maybe Fitz throw in there. I don't know. But who were some of the best leaders, and why were they great leaders that you played with?
Well, I mean, Kyle was great. Fitz was awesome because he was just such a great personality. He's easy to get along with. He gets along with everybody, and just people love to kind of rally around that. I played with Ruben Brown. He was a great leader, and during, I mean, geez, he went to what, 8, 9 Pro Bowls. So you look up to a guy like that knows how to take care of business. Just played with a lot of great teammates. I mean, you could go down the list, but we had a lot of guys that came through. I mean, Troy Vincent played with us for a few, 3, 4 years, maybe 5. He was great on the defense, and I mean, I just
Fletch.
Yeah, Jared, there you go. There's another one. I mean, a guy, what did he play? 20 years. I mean, but he was great on, leading the whole offense and defense. He was just easy to follow, right? So, I wish we would have won more games because we had some really great guys, really great players, and certainly would have loved to have seen the playoffs while we were there. But I'm proud to be a part of the teams I was. So, with some great teammates.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was part of that, and
Yeah,
I've made lifelong friends from that group, and like
yeah.
you. And there were just some really, really super talented people on those teams, and things just didn't work out the way obviously that we had hoped for that stretch. But the good news is it's good now. And we can all be
Yep.
fans, and we can all root them on, and we all are connected to them one way or the other. I understand you're coming up this weekend, and you'll be at the Coffin Corner.
We will. Yeah, we're it was funny because guys here are like, hey, we should go up. I'm like, all right, we'll make it happen. And then I said, but we're gonna go tailgate with our guys, and so we'll be at Coffin Corner over there by the big tree and in the big tree and hanging out with the fans and showing the Jaguar guys down here that are Jaguar fans what it means to tailgate, what the Bills Mafia is all about, and they'll get a great experience, and it'll be a lot of fun. But we're really looking forward to it.
All right, so look for Brian Moorman at Coffin Corner over by the big tree. You won't miss it. There's usually a big sign with it, right? So you'll be able to find
Those
them
guys are
over there.
I think 2004 or something. And I mean, it's like 20 years now that they've had that cut out. And man, my biggest fans, and have turned into some great friends. So try and stay in touch with them as well.
For sure, man. Thanks for doing this. We love you. We'll see you this weekend.
All right. See you,
all the best to
Go
Coop and Amber too.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, man.